Brought to you by Ford and your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. It is the Dallas Cowboys owner and general manager. It is playoff Jerry Jones. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, man. It's good to be on with you. It's a matter of fact, it's a privilege and exciting. I just can't tell you. I wish I could stay at this state, anticipation of the game, and talk about what might be visions of sugar plums, so to speak. I wish I could just stay like this for about 2 months.
I see that, but hopefully in about a month you won't feel that way, and you'll be like, no, this is the best feeling in the world.
Day.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
oh, yeah, I agree. I agree that it is. And it's so bad. The other day when we were watching that game up in Washington, and I'm sitting there, and I'm about 6 inches to a foot away from my wife and my daughter-in-law, and we've just got our kick blocked and then turned around, had the interception, and my daughter-in-law showed a little picture of my great-granddaughter to my wife, and they're sitting there kind of looking, talking about it, and that bothered me so bad. I said, I guess y'all are going to just sit here and have normal chatter while we're getting life goes before us. That just shows you what kind of shape you can be in. Of course, I felt terrible about that later, but shows where your mind gets.
They have to be used to that level of intensity, though, on game day, right? They got to be used to that.
Well, the facts are we don't sit like that except on the road. You know, I sit separately and watch the game separately and sit in an area with Stephen and Clay and my other son, Jerry, and my grandsons. And we have our communications around, and so that's where we normally watch the game.
Of that bunch, who is the most intense, for better or worst, in the group of people that you normally watch games with?
Well, the one that can handle it the least is me. But I would say it is it's even. I'd say everybody in there is highly focused. They're focused on the technical nuances of everything going on, carefully analyzing it, and articulating what they think happened on a given play. It's a good place to be because there are a lot of sharp eyes in there, people that know what they're looking at, know what they're talking about, and for me, it's a great place to get a good overview of what we're doing out there.
As you guys head into the playoffs, or the playoffs will begin imminently, I'm curious, what do you think is the biggest adjustment your team has made along the way to the playoffs, or perhaps the biggest adjustment they still need to make in the playoffs? Because for me, obviously, penalties jumps to mind.
Well, I think that we've got to go back to that old fundamental, and that is football is really predicated on repetition. The rehearsing or the practicing is all about repetition. And you fundamentally, over and over and over again, execute the same situations and the same athletic decision and effort. What I'm seeing is the coordination between Dak and our receivers. I'm seeing the coordination in the offensive line. I'm seeing that improving. I do think that the pre-snap penalties are less likely to happen now than before the early part of the season. So I see improvement across the board. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we've gotten better at what we're going to be doing in the run game for the playoffs. We knew we needed to. We drafted that way. And then, again, I can hardly talk about where we were when we started as opposed to where we are today without talking about the availability of our players. We're healthy. As healthy as I've ever seen us, and healthy being the long-term seasonal duration of a season-ending injury. Certainly we don't have Diggs, our corner, out there. And I'm sitting here talking at my kitchen table, and my wife is sitting there knocking on wood to give you an idea of how superstitious you are. But our health is a key thing. Availability is a key thing.
Jerry, what does comfortable mean to you? And by that, like, do you find motivation in discomfort? And Kevin, I know we've talked with DeMarcus Lawrence a couple of years ago, and he was like, fine, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. What defines comfort, or maybe even settling for you?
I think the word for me would be tolerance for ambiguity, the words. Tolerance for ambiguity. And I think that the unknown, the what's right around the corner, the what's coming up next, your own expectations, the expectations of the challenge that you're facing, the ability to execute with a tolerance of the unknown is the best thing I do. I have a high tolerance for ambiguity. And let me give you an example. A riverboat gambler, a true professional riverboat gambler, sitting on the riverboat, he can be his most charming, his most clever, and think his best when the next card that's turned over could have him thrown off the boat and out in the river, or have him on the boat. That's when he's best. If you try to put him in a situation where he knows exactly what the results, what's going to happen at the end of the week, he's going to get his check at the end of the week, if you put him in that, he won't be as good as he is. He won't have his best qualities showing forward. The guy that needs the check at the end of the week could be just as good. He just has to know what's there at the end of the week so he can concentrate on the job at hand. So it doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means one operates in that arena better. And so as that manifests itself in tight spots, stress, angst, a lot of those situations that cause that. Some people are great at angst. Some people need a little better, clearer road path, and they can get it done too by executing in those times. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying I think I do better in stress.
I like that riverboat analogy.
I know I do better when when I've been hit hard. I think my best times have been coming back rather than dealing with success.
Well, right
Both
now,
of them are frauds, by the way. Failure is a fraud. Success is a fraud. Both of them are equally as fraud, and they can tear you up. Success can, and failure. And so you need to be able to handle both those frauds because they're not real, but they sure impact you.
When you look at this coaching staff and this team, do any of them look comfortable to you right now?
Not at all. Not at all. Now, I mean, we're uptight, but cool. Man, everybody understands what's on the line. This is a lifetime opportunity. These things stay with you forever. I was on a golf cart with Darrell Royal down in Austin at one of our golf tournaments that to kick our training camp off years ago for the Cowboys. And I was riding around with Coach Royal, and Coach Royal was talking about the game that I had played in when he was number one in the nation, and we were number 4, and we ended up winning the game. But in that game, Texas had an 11-play drive, and this is 25 years earlier. And while I was in that golf cart, while I was driving the car and he was talking, he went over every play in that 11-play drive and remembered the play and remembered who caught it and the result of it and the next play he called. He had never forgotten those things. You don't ever forget these great moments in your time, and this time can be that for the Dallas Cowboys. But, of course, we know it can end in 3 hours when you start it.
Now, looking at the Packers, I'm curious your thoughts about Jordan Love. And I know he isn't a rookie, but how tough can it be for a younger quarterback in their first playoff start?
Well, I really have burned in my mind their play over the last 6-7 ball games.
Right.
Boy, that's been impressive.
Yep.
Because that's classic. They started off, they weren't as successful, of course, they've been the last 6-7 games, but they dealt with that. But more importantly, this is a young team. I think the youngest one in the NFL, Green Bay Packers. And so they do what great young teams do, and that is they just get better. They don't know any better, and they get better. And so we're dealing with a young group that is on the come. Having said that, we know how talented they are. Make no mistake about it, this guy can play quarterback, and they've got some really outstanding receivers. And so as well as we just know that any team in the NFL, hello, Arizona, so any team in the NFL can beat you. And this home field advantage thing, there's a reason why this streak is the longest one in the NFL right now, because you can get beat on home field too. So we've got all the reason in the world to really be leery and really be prepared and think like we're playing in the like we're actually playing in the Super Bowl. I was listening to a player yesterday talk about playing under Belichick, and he said Coach Belichick coached us up not to even begin to think about the end of the ball game. Don't even think about it. And he said, consequently, I never thought about the end of the ball game until the last 4 or 5 plays. You've got to think about what's at hand and what is happening on that play or the next play. Or if you're on the bench, next time you go out there. You can't think that far ahead and be as successful as you want to be to execute your assignment. Well, that's very telling, because I think that's what you're into here with us, and that's what we're into with the Green Bay Packers. We better be thinking about the next 5 minutes in the first quarter, not even as far away as the half or the end of the game, and then go from there.
Not to go off topic too much or anything like that, but since you did mention Bill Belichick, in the span of about 48 hours, Pete Carroll, 72, Nick Saban, 72, Bill Belichick, 71, all gone from their current position or they retired. I don't question the greatness of any of them at all. I am always curious, though, how big of a factor do you think age is when it comes to connecting with those younger players?
I think you have to develop a technique. I think when you're close in age, you have one way of convincing, motivating. As you move along, if you're dealing with the right kind of human beings, there's more deference to an older person, more deference to recognizing what they can give you with their experience. But the guy doing it, the coach, has to start using it that way rather than when he was the same age as the player. And so it depends upon really the coach's ability to adjust. God gives us some extra knowledge as we move on away from not being in the same generation. You better learn how to use that, and you had sure better use it, because you're not going to kid them, and you're not going to be real if you try to act like they are at 30 when you're 60. But as long as you act 60 and you use the kinds of things that they don't have, you've got something to offer.
Jerry, you can look at headlines. I was looking at, there was Tyreek Hill's talking about, I got to be focused because, his house was caught on fire the other day. There are players and coaches moving all over the place. Lots of distractions outside of the building. And coaches and players alike, they see that stuff. But how important is it for your guys to be focused on this moment?
Well, I'll be very candid with you. I don't worry about that. They clearly are savvy enough to understand what this means to them individually. And more importantly, these guys really are committed to each other. And they don't want to let the other one down. And they know everybody's counting on them. And this is a team thing to be trite. It takes 11 people to snap the ball out there. Any one can screw it up. And so they have a very impressive accountability to each other. And that's a big, big thing. And then they have their own accountability because they know that in front of every one of their teammates, much less in front of 30 million people, that when they go out there and have a pre-snap offsides penalty, or they go out there and miss a tackle in a key game like that, they know that everybody in their world is going to know it. And if they, for instance, don't have a complete effort on a play, and you do it at the wrong time here in the playoffs with the Dallas Cowboys, millions could see you not have given everything you had to take the right angle and cut him off. Now, if that isn't enough to get you going, you're in the wrong place. And these guys aren't in the wrong place. They're ready.
Is there a part of the GM or owner's job to help keep those distractions, keep them focused? Is there something that is part of your job that you have to do?
No, I think, frankly, be real. Only just be ourselves. Everybody out there knows what's at stake. All you've got to do is go out to the Star and walk out on that practice field, and you know this is serious stuff. We're not playing around out there. If you look around at what all we do to put them on the field, this is serious business. They know what's at stake, and this is the time to do it the best you'll ever do it. And so my point is, everywhere around these players, everywhere around these coaches, is huge commitment in every definition: financial, interest, focus. Got so many things depending on running a play that go all the way out to the economics, the fans, the tradition, the holding it up for great players that have played before you. You just name it, you can put it out there. I don't even think you have to go down a list if you're a player. I know this, that I always felt that as a player, that everybody from 5 to 95 that was a fan of the Razorbacks would give anything to be in my shoes. And so I just happen to be in these shoes right now on this play and a chance to do something about it, and I'm not going to let all these people that wish they could be in my shoes down. I'm going to get it done as best I can.
I like it.
Last thing I had for you is you're great telling us about the business of football. I was curious if you could give us any insight about, there is definitely some frustration from fans about the streaming exclusive Chiefs and Dolphins game this weekend. Can you walk us through how that might be the future of football on TV versus how important broadcast TV is?
Variety, I think the right word there is you're going to see a variety and have the opportunity to watch the NFL in a variety of ways. But the one premise that the NFL has always had, and it's why, in my mind, that we have the viewing audience that we have today, and that is called free television. And we have always made sure that no matter what, that our games are available to the millions, the mass. And so we've never restricted it. Some sports have actually narrowed it down to where they didn't even have it on horse racing. But you can directly point to, in my mind, the demise of interest in sport with the concept of the more visible you make it, the more accessible you can make it, the more the sport has thrived. And, of course, the NFL has always had the premise, I'll assure you of that. My entire years in the NFL has been the more people that can see it, the better off we are. Will you from time to time see ways that you have to work to see it? Yeah, that's kind of the way technology and opportunity to zero in with different technology of watching games and enjoying the games have come about. But what you're seeing is just a variety of ways, and you'll never see a time for the NFL ever when it's not available to the broadest of masses of any programming, much less sports, that you know about.
Excellent, excellent. Appreciate the insight as always. And your team now 4 wins away from being world champions.
Man, I can't stand it, and I haven't slept. And it's just, I can remember back when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, and Santa Claus was coming. And I just couldn't stand it. And if you asked me what I wanted, I would just almost pee down my leg. I'd be so nervous to even say it. That's the kind of feeling I have here.
I love it. I think there's a lot of people right there with you. We will catch up with you next week, good sir.
Have a good one, Jerry.
Thank you, guys. Bye.